Hi everybody, this is Sarah with this week's Tech Try It. This week we'll be looking at Pear, which is the DoDEA approved Google add-on for Google Slides. An add-on is an extension that adds more features to one of the Google Suite products. So this week we're going to be looking at Pear, which I know lots of you are excited about. Before we do that, I just want to make a little plug for some file management. Knowing where your files are is a really important piece of your project so that when you get ready to turn everything in at the end, you're going to be able to pull all the pieces together. So we're encouraging you on your My Drive to now create a folder called Course Project or something else that makes sense to you, where you can house all of your lesson plans and all of the resources that you're going to be creating. This week, you're going to start creating lesson plans with a focus on the standards, whatever standards you decide to look at, with a specific emphasis on creativity and critical thinking. And so with that in mind, I'm going to give an example of some things that you could do with Pear Deck. Although this is just a real entry level, I'm sure you guys will come up with some better ideas. So I've got the lesson plans for that, but also the resource Getting to Know Me Google slide presentation in there as well. So once you're ready to go and you've created a very basic Google slide, it's very easy to do Pear Deck. So to get started, what you're going to do is first you need to sign up for the Pear Deck add-on. There are two versions of Pear Deck. One is free. One is a trial premium membership that allows you to have some extra features, but then you'd have to purchase that at the end of the trial period. I think it's a 90-day trial period. So that's completely up to you. You are not required to do the premium features for what I'm going to be showing you and what you're going to be trying this week with your Tech Try It. So what we're going to ask you to do is to get signed up. I can't show you this piece because I've already signed up for Pear Deck and I've already taught with it. But to do that, you would go to add-ons, you'd come down to Pear Deck and slide over and open. And then it's going to walk you through the steps that you would need in order to sign up with using your student.dodea login. And make sure that you know that Pear Deck will not open on a file on a shared drive. So if you are in a shared drive, it won't work. So you need to make sure you put it in My Drive and go from there. And then just go to the add-ons. You're going to add the Pear Deck add-on and it will walk you through how to do that. Okay. Once you've done that, one other quick thing that I want to show you is that in your actual drive itself, it will create a Pear Deck folder for you in My Drive that has two basic folders, your decks, and these are all of the decks that I've taught with this year, and then the takeaways, and this is where it has the actual student work that I've saved from specific sessions. And so those are two folders that Pear Deck uses to organize, again, your resources. And so for today, what I'm going to do is show you how to get started with creating a Pear Deck. So there's two choices. You can use existing slides and you can use templates. And so I'm going to include this in our resources today. You can come back to it. I've also included resources on the Tech Try It slide. There's a how-to manual for Pear Deck that you have access to as well. So this is just a real quick overview. Basically, what's going to happen is once you come in, you're going to come to add-ons once you have your Google Slides open, and you're going to go to add-ons, and then you're going to open your Pear Deck add-on. And what that'll do is it will create and open this toolbar to the side, okay? So starting at the top, this button would start the actual lesson. This button here has the features. One important piece under there is to require the student logins, and that's just a little toggle switch that you turn on and off. Kids are going to use their student DoDEA email to log in, and that means that you'll be able to tell who has done what work. And that's important if you need to assess it student by student. If you don't need that, you don't need that on, but I just tend to leave that on. Then you have template library. I'm going to come to that in just a few minutes. And then you have how to add an interactive to an existing slide in these buttons here. And then you can also add audio here. Okay, so all of these tools are on here as well. We're going to encourage you to use those. Before we get started though, I want you to think about the type of experience with technology you want your students to have. The picture that we had you look at today, the graphic that we had you look at for this module was around the SAMR model. This is aligned with DoDEA's learning walkthrough as well. It lines up with the ISTE student standards and everything like that. It's really thinking, what's the kind of experience that I'm using the technology to do? The first level is S, or substitution. This is really the task could be accomplished without the technology. We're just using technology as kind of an engaging tool to do it. So if a kids could do it with paper and pencil, that's a substitution. If they could do it with a pair of scissors and a piece of paper, that's a substitution. So it's really just substituting something, a different tool with the technology. The next level is augmentation, and this is enhancing learning as well, but it's adding a little bit to the learning experience while it's adding some functional improvement. For example, virtual manipulatives, spell check, text to speech, things like that. A lot of times kids create multimedia reports with hyperlinks. Those are augmenting. So it adds a little more, but it's still not really transforming the learning through the use of technology. The M in the SAMR model stands for modification, and this is where you're really beginning to significantly redesign the tasks that the kids are doing. This allows students to do something new with the content. For example, collaborate with peers, create something original or authentic that they wouldn't be able to do on their own without it. Collaborative learning is a big part of this, recording their voice, doing a video group project together, flipped lessons, feedback, all those kinds of things really are examples of how you're beginning to modify and do things with the technology that they haven't been able to do before. And then the highest level is the R, and this is where the learning that has been transformed can only be accomplished through the use of the technology. For example, using inspiration or kidspiration to do concept mapping that then leads into a writing project, connecting with experts in the field, simulations, things like that that the technology allows kids to do without which they wouldn't be able to do the same learning. So when you're looking at Pear Deck, the way I've seen people mostly use it is in the substitution and the augmentation level. So you want to really be pushing yourself to think about, with that, how can I lift up creative thinking and critical thinking? So I really want to use this as a way to leverage that up. So I'm going to give just a couple of examples with that. This is from grade 3. Want to really reinforce that these are things that you would be able to do in a brick and mortar context back in school as a center, as an independent task, as something where you're leading a small group with perhaps social distancing, but you're still able to see all the kids work. Whole class, if you have the ability to have all your kids on computers at the same time, half your class, whatever that might be. Or you could do it as a whole group task in a Google Meet. You could assign it asynchronously at home. So there's a lot of features with this that you could use regardless of the context we're in when we go back to school. So kind of the sky's the limit. So I'm going to show you first how to do this with slides you already have. So I have a slide here that I just did a snag it of one of the pages out of Benchmark Advanced with the essential question for Unit 1, why do people participate in government? So this is a substitution task. I could ask this question and have kids respond with paper and pencil. So this is definitely a substitution. What I'm going to do is add the interactive text here by just having the slide open and then clicking on the ABC button, and then Pear Deck does the rest. So as that adds in, this is going to become an interactive question. So I've got the little pear at the bottom now, and it says students write your response. That's a clue to me that this is a text. Okay, let's go on to the next one. I've got a math example. So this is a S in SAMR for substitution. I'm going to take this right out of the aligned assessment banks, and I'm going to make this a multiple choice question. So I'm going to come in here, I click the choice button, and I'm going to put some options in. So I'm looking at the answers that we had in our 782, 796. I'm going to add another one. So I'm just typing right in here. And then the all famous forgot to carry 7916. And then you update the slide. And when the students see that, they'll pick from the answers there. So they might need a piece of paper to go with that, but they could do that as well. So again, that's just a substitution. There's not a high level of use of technology transforming the thinking. Let's look at that same question and augment it. So I'm going to show a couple of ways that I can augment that. The first is going to be with a virtual manipulative. So what I'm going to do is I already have the website open for virtual manipulatives that I would have the kids use. So I'm going to right click on that web address and copy it. And I'm going to click on website. Then when that pops up, it's going to ask me to then right click and paste the website in. And now I can see that that website is exactly the one I was doing, and I update the slide. When the students come in then, they'll be able to use that actual direct link to that website to go and solve that problem, okay? If I wanted to do the exact same, I'm going to duplicate that slide. And let's say I've decided now, I'm going to delete that, to make it a draw, and I'm going to have them creatively show their critical thinking by drawing a model. I can do the exact same thing with the draw button. Again, you just click it and let Pear Deck do its thing. So that same question I've done 3 ways. I have it as a multiple choice, I have it as a go out to the web, and I have it as draw anywhere on the slide. Okay, so this would be okay, so there's a lot of ways you can do that. The final example is also substitution. So this is a concept map, but I want to be careful when we talk about this because in the SAMR model, one of the examples that they use is concept mapping, but they're talking about software like Kidspiration or Inspiration. If you just have kids draw a concept map, but it's just with paper and pencil or even with the draw feature in here, yes, that is absolutely supporting critical thinking. But in the tech model, that is a substitution. They could have done the same thing with crayons, markers, pen and paper. So just be thinking that through as you're thinking through how you want kids to engage in their critical thinking. Okay, so then the other thing that I want to show you just really quickly is a couple of the templates. I'm not going to spend a lot of time on these. I want you to go through and investigate those for yourself and find those that match your thinking. But what I'm going to do is show you just a couple. So the first one I'm going to do is looking at the templates. There's beginning, during, and end of lesson templates. There's learning development, critical thinking, and SEL. And then there's also a lot of great examples in each of the subject areas, things for K2, although all of these can be adapted for K2. So if you teach kinder, first, second, dig into these other ones as well. All of these can be adapted. So you can edit all of them. So the first thing I'm going to do is come in and add a question in that's already set up. So let's look at this one. I like this one. To just get the lesson started, imagine I had this up. I'm just going to click on it and it will automatically insert a template for the kids to go in. And this is a drawing one. So kids could creatively draw how they're feeling that's draining or filling their bucket today. I know lots of people use that metaphor of bucket filling. And so that would allow me to have a little check at the beginning, maybe as an entrance task for lessons or for the day, such as that. So that's an example of that one. And then I'm going to come down and add an end of lesson. And so this is one of my absolute favorites. Draw 2 things that you learned today. So I'm going to just click on that and add that in, and it's good to go. Okay, so essentially a Pear Deck can be 1, 2, 3, or more, as many as you want. Once you're done with that then, and you have all the slides in that you want, so this is really the lesson section, you're going to start the lesson, and when you start the lesson, what it's going to do is allow you to pick synchronous or asynchronous. Student paced means the kids can go at their own pace, and you can assign it to them through Google Classroom, email, the stream, etc. And instructor paced, you're in control. And so there's more resources for you available on actually running a Pear Deck. Today was really about you setting one up, so that we'll get to do it once we get started. But the big thing is then you have 2 ways to do this. Join PD and then give them this code, or you can copy the link and send it to them through Google Classroom, a Google Meet, etc. That's about as far as I can take you guys today because I am not having students today to get started with. So that's about as far as I can do. But again, that's how you would get started with that. And I've also included a couple of things once you run a lesson, what would the teacher dashboard look like for you, and how to end a session. And so we'll look at that when you get a little bit closer. But that is your quick down and dirty overview of Pear Deck. There's lots of other resources that you could get on the web. We have the manual for you as well. So enjoy, have a great time, and we look forward to seeing what you create to go with your back to school projects.